Hello, everyone. Today I have a really beautiful piece to share with you. This is the Ron Best Phoenix model. And for me, I think this is a really, really special piece for him. Maybe even pivotal to the knife making career. Um, and that's because, starting back historically, Ron Best has been known to be an art knife maker. And what a lot of the collectors and knife enthusiasts collect are actually tactical knives. But since about 3-4 years ago, Ron jumped into the tactical knife scene by introducing a flipper tab, which is very almost exclusively tactical. Because in the art knife world, you would have a lot of things that are open with two hands, but not with a flipper. But those ones which he introduced, I believe the first one was the Phase, and then there's the Fatty. All of his tactical style knives were actually still very much art knives because they were quite big in size. They were over 4 inches in blade length, maybe 4.25, and it gets quite wide. The width of it is really fat, really heavy, really fat, really wide. So in effect, it's still basically like an art knife with a flipper. And over the years, if you notice, his knives start to shrink down in size, so it became from fat to thin, and now it became shorter, and now the size is right. This blade on the Phoenix is a 3.5-inch blade. It's actually the second model which he made similar to this size. The first one was the Onyx, but that one I did not like the design as much as this one. That's why I waited eagerly for Ron to come out with a second design that was both a hybrid between a tactical knife and an art knife. And this is the perfect model for that. I was really excited when I first saw pictures of him come out with the Phoenix, because the knife is slim. I haven't weighted this yet. It's a little bit thick on this side, but in terms of the weight, I would say it's around 5 ounces, or between 4.5 and 5 ounces. So that's very reasonable for a knife of this size, a 3.5-inch blade. And just for reference, a Shirogorov F7 or F95 would weigh around the same, with of course a slightly longer blade length, because the Shiros, they do have very good blade length to the handle ratio. So they're able to fit a lot of blade in around approximately the same handle size. But this brings this in very much to the tactical knife world. And a lot of people know Ron Best, and this design is still very much a Ron Best design. So being a more artsy knife, and also very, very intricately designed, people think that this might be fragile. But in truth, if you look at it, it's got thick liners, very thick liners actually. It's an inset lock, and it's got even a steel lock bar insert. Now, what kind of art knife has a steel lock bar insert like this? Well, Ron Best does it. It's got a sweet pocket clip which works really well. Also deep carry, or it carries around this height, which is perfect. Um, Easy to get in and out of the pocket. The size is right. It's slim. It's not too heavy. This is the real deal. So that's why I'm so excited to get this piece, because I've actually never owned an art knife before. And Ron Best is considered to be an art knife maker, but now he's making more tactical knives. I just thought, this was so cool. So let's start off with the blade. I ordered this direct from Ron, and it actually took only 2 months in total. So a month of waiting, or a month and a half of waiting, and I'm not sure when he started building the knives, because we discussed about all the specs beforehand. So I told him, hey Ron, I wanted a black and white theme. I wanted Damascus steel for the blade. And the frame, I want to have many different types of finishes, going from carbon fiber to mirror polish, high polish, and dark bead blast, and maybe even zirconium, and touches of mother of pearl. So the blade is a beautiful Persian style blade made from Damascus steel. It's got very nice jimping on top. And before we go in further, I want to mention that, when I talked with Ron and I asked him, hey, do you use any smart machines? I already knew that he did not use smart machines, but I just wanted to make sure. And he said, that's correct. I actually use a manual mill, a belt sander, and that's almost pretty much it. He doesn't even have a lathe, which is what it. And if you don't know, lathe is very helpful for making something round. But that's really surprising for me. If you only have those two machines, and the rest are done by hand, like with a hand jig, or I don't know, files and other hand tools, and you make something like this, that's kind of crazy. I'm sure he has a few more like very old manual machines, but if he doesn't have a lathe, that really tells you something about what he's working with. And I'm going to tell you right now, the knife does have, it is not 100% perfect. And I truly believe that's because of the lack of tools that he has. And given that the lack of tools that he has, I find it hard to believe that anyone, who makes really, really great knives today will be able to do this type of work, hand work, all around, spend so much time on the knife, and come up with something so beautiful. So anyways, going back to the jimping, it's quite effective. But again, like I mentioned, it's almost perfect, but it's not quite aligned, right? But this is something really slight, and man, this is just beautiful. And then going into the frame itself, so it's got a mother of pearl pivot inlay on a zirconium pivot actually, and it pops up, which gives it a really cool effect. It's got this wedge right here on both sides, which is really beautiful. It's got a bead blast frame, and carbon fiber inlay into the titanium. And again, just to let you know, only with manual tools, he's able to make these two layers really defined and separate. And it's done on both sides, which is really cool. You have to go, so it's like a thicker piece of titanium. You have to drill down and get this shaped really well defined. You have to sand is, I'm not sure what he did, but sand is part out, so it's got a really nice angle. And then mill the inside pocket so you can put in the carbon fiber inlay, which goes all the way to the inside through the other side. So it is a deep pocket. And you can see that, because it is all handmade, it's almost perfectly lined up, but not quite, right? But something like this, you really appreciate the amount of time and work you spent in doing this, because I don't know how many people, if any, given the tools, would be able to make something as beautiful as this. Again, there's the contouring, and then another chamfer. This is really not easy. Oh, and the backspacer, I told him, hey, it'd be cool to get zirconium with a pearl pivot inlay. And he did it. Wow, beautifully inlaid inside here. Just an astonishing knife. And actually, when I first saw pictures of the clip and the lock bar, I thought, hey, this looks almost like zirconium because it's so dark. But actually, it is titanium that has been heavily bead blasted and then heat has gone through heat process. So it's basically kind of like black titanium, but yet he still did, the two different layers here with the regular bead blast and black titanium. And he had to go polish, all of these surfaces up, which is not easy, I'm gonna tell you right now. All the polish on the liners, on the frame, and it's just one piece, so you can't mess it up and go over the other side, which is really cool. The design is just wonderful. And there's this big hole right here where you can put your lanyard loop if you like, and it saves a lot of weight. And again, being an art knife, how's the ergonomics? Just like any other tactical Persian piece. It's a little bit, it's got some thickness to it, and it feels really nice in the hand. Just lovely. Fits the hand really well. No hot spots, of course. Yeah, a little detail. Even the blade flipper tab has a nice skeletonized, which I've only seen skeletonized flipper tabs on CNC knives, by the way. This is like, he has to hand mill through this and make sure to not break, have it be broken. So, waited long enough. How's the action on this baby? Let's go. It flips wonderfully. I think this knife has got, it's perfectly tuned. It flips out really nicely, really easily. It does not hurt your thumb at all, yet fires with authority. It has no jimping, but it doesn't need it. And how does it close? Drop shot close. Even better than most of the tactical knives. Check out the centering, perfectly centered. Let's do that again. This has got, one of the most pleasant lock bar releases. And again, this guy came from the tactical knife world, the art knife world, and I thought, hey, his action can't be that good, right? The lock bar release is like the best, one of the best, if not the best that I've tried. There's just no resistance, yet it's super solid, no play at all. No play at all with the blade or anything. Super solid, and it opens like as if there's no resistance. So it's really cool, and it drop shuts very nicely. Super addictive knife to play with. Just incredible. Yeah, I'm having so much fun with this knife. And I really encourage those of you out there to check Ron out, especially those of you who spend over $4,000 or $5,000 on a tactical knife. I'm gonna tell you right now, this one has a ton of work and is way better than most of the other tactical knives out there, which go for the same price. It's just so wonderfully made. The blade, it slices pretty well. I've tested it, and wow, what a knife! What a piece! What a piece of art! He really lives up to his name, Ron Best. Keeping the old ways of knife making, mixing with the new style tactical knife. I just think it's really, really amazing. What else is there to say? But I really encourage, if you're interested, contact him directly. He does, this one is quite, it's outfitted really well. So that's why the prices is a little bit more on the higher side of his knives. But if you go with a more plain finish with no, inlays, it still looks amazing because he still has, all these different layers just with titanium and anodizing. And it goes, for a few $1,000s less, maybe $3,000 or even, the late $2,000s for the most basic piece from him, is what I'm guessing, but you'd have to ask him to make sure. Oh yeah, another thing I forgot to mention, completely toolless, hidden hardware build. So the pivot on both sides is pearl, and you can't see a screw anywhere on the frame. Completely hidden hardware. Amazing. Can't believe I forgot to mention that in the video because it makes the knife look so clean, and it takes a heck load of effort. I also love that he engraved the name with a nice engraver because it just looks so professional with the birthday right there. Inset lock with the little details of the milling and polishing. Wonderful, just wonderful. All right, I'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for watching this video.